Hello and welcome to day 150 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tomlins Nyback. We're here talking about black issues in America, relationships between whites, blacks, and all the races, colors, creeds in between. Where we've taken a broad swipe, we've got a broad brush that includes economics, sex, politics, money, various kinds of literacy, ways of thinking, the Constitution, current events here and there, a lot of history. So just stay tuned for what and we never know, there's no set agenda here. We're just free flowing. So welcome. Um, Two big thoughts emerge as the project goes along. I need to really drum this in your head. You're like, oh boy, he says this every time. Does he have to say it? Yes? And think of your favorite television program. Don't you? You like there's an introduction, music, and presentation of staff and cameos, and their names are there, and it's the same way every time. That's what makes it the show. It's bracketed. There are bookends on your show. Starts this way, ends this way. You know, same way here. You know, if it's 365 days towards racial change, then you're going to hear some stuff in the beginning. Anyway, let me get to it. I can digress easily here. The mind of America. We're going to get into this even today. It's kind of what the subject is about. Mind of America is the topic concern for black folks. How are black folks getting along in America? How do black folks think? How are black folks navigating the American landscape, economically, racially, socially, vocationally, business, and all that? But are blacks still behaving in a slave manner in America? Are we uh, still castrated, vulnerable, rendered ineffective in America? Do we still just feel we have no hope, so we just might as well go along with the status quo and whatnot? Um, there's a lot of forces, I think, present in America that would reinforce that. Yet we don't have to behave or think in that manner. You know, we can find some values. You know, I think a big part. I was into drugs and alcohol for the longest time, and part of it was the hopelessness, the kind of apathy. Well, I'm a black man. You know, it doesn't raise eyebrows when I get arrested, when I buy drugs, when I pass out drunk, and things like that. It's just kind of par for the course for black men. So that's what I'm thinking about. Are we continuing to perpetuate stereotypes and ideas of our own making? You know, forget about the outside forces. Now, the flip side of the same coin is for the white mind, that expectation of privilege. And this is my personal view. This is what I see. Expectation of privilege. Um, there's power in the world, not just America, but I perceive it in the world. White folks are just all over the world, you know, doing stuff, and their moves trickle down and compel others. You know, what a privilege! What a deal! Have you heard me say in recent weeks? What a deal white folks get. You know, all things being equal, everybody's got their outliers and problems and stuff like that. but the majority of the majority progresses, excels, ascends. Uh, like Jacob saw the angels of heaven going up and down the ladder, in and out of heaven at will. I see white folks moving about um, with such security and ease, and I'm jealous of that. Now, the second part thing that really kind of motivates me is for blacks having financial literacy, for understanding how money works in America, in the world, why we're working harder, getting less, understanding inflation, borrowing from the future. And when we get literate on those things, we can, um, we can mount some offense in this system. We're always kind of sheltering in place financially, and that's because we are at the mercy of people who understand and know financial literacy, know how that works, and uh, how important that is. Today I'm in the process of securing a secured credit card. It means I'm putting some money in the bank, and I'm going to borrow my own money, pay it back. I'm establishing, uh, credit. The bank is helping me. It's kind of a credit rehab thing over time, and maybe someday I'll be in position to get real credit again because my credit history is wasted. But that's financial literacy, understanding how to uh, keep some financial sanity in our lives. I can't tell you how many banks that I have just destroyed myself with by doing stupid moves, wanting more, not disciplining myself, and all that. So I'm finally having a good relationship with a bank. Hopefully I've learned from my youth and my past, and I know not to uh, make those same and similar mistakes anymore. I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He speaks about these issues much more eloquently than I do, and he's more focused, I would say. Um, Read 3 of his works. He's got videos all over the internet, easy to find. First book I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. If you get only one of his books, get that one. That'll get you going. If it resonates, if anything resonates, it's going to happen in that book and move you towards your own path. Next is Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. You want to, kind of is a further thought on economics and power for black folks and white folks in America. And finally, Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. There you'll find black women supporting one another, having conversations. There are some differences between men and women issues. Check out Blagg Enough, BLAGGENUF. And if you can't find your community, your flavor here, which I kind of find that hard to believe that with the information age and the internet, then do what I did, start your own. Even though I know my community is here. I've already been contacted a few times. I've got some interesting subscribers so far. All right, today 150, we're talking about, going way off track, but I think you'll see how this is going to come together here in a moment. I was leaving one of America's super stores, conglomerates, picked up a bunch of food. You know, it's a place where I complain about Chinese interest in America and black folks being more conscious of how they're using their disposable dollars in America at this space. I don't want to name the store, I don't want to endorse it, but it's easy. I said the biggest, so it's easy to think what store I'm talking about. And so I'm coming out, and there's a little brown girl across the street. She's kind of confused. She's looking at her phone. She's obviously lost. So I kind of paid a no, never mind. I went into my default mode when women are around. In most cases, here in America, walls go up and we're navigating stereotypes. I know they are. I'm not a mind reader, but it's body language, past history with uh, women and things like that. You know, so as you know, a black, kind of above average size black man, I know, you know, just kind of just be about my own business, and that's sad, right? Because we could have so much fellowship in America. Uh, and she was across the street, so I was okay. I'm pushing my cart, you know, and I'm pushing my cart, and suddenly she turns, comes across the street to me, and I find out she's lost, is not can't figure out the bus and all this stuff. I find out she's going my way, and I tell you, I was struck by her openness, willingness, you know, to approach a stranger. By the way, there was a Chinese. She's Chinese, very tiny Chinese young woman, and so this is different for my experience in America. Uh, uh, you know, petite Asian women don't feel comfortable sharing space with me. All right, so. But she was open. She's looking for directions, and she's right. I can't figure out the bus, and so we were right there. And she was kind of fresh from the homeland, China, and I was like, I had to point, like, that's the bus sign and all that. So you know, I'm giving her little educations about the bus and things like that, and then you know, just left her alone. Okay, James, just leave it. And but then my wheels are turning, right? It's because I've been talking here, coming up on half a year about racial issues. Asians come up a lot, white folks, Hispanics, and all that. And you know, here's a woman obviously not besmirched and tainted with America's politicized and weaponized racism and stereotypes and all this. That this just was non-existent. You know, you got to be in America a long time, feel the pressures and understand the nuances to know that you're in the presence of a person who's never been touched by that. Uh, you know, she's not had a lifetime of media. She's not been inundated with a specific color being promoted as being dysfunctional and stuff like that. So I'm like, I was just blown away because I'm very aware of it. I've grown up here a couple decades uh, in the nation, seen a lot of news, had a lot of experiences. Yeah, you know, it's going to be hard for me to get out from under that, get around that, you know. So it was a breath of fresh air, you know. She's Asian, Chinese, and totally at peace, sharing space with a black man. It's pretty impressive. Okay, so she's on her way to church, and so she got a $5 bill and stuff. So I'm like, well, okay, she's on. So I'm into this mode, this outreach mode. Now, I didn't want to quiz her and start to abstract racism and go at her like that. So I just kind of just left it. But she had this $5 bill, and she says, "Oh, will the bus driver make change?" And stuff. No change. So I was gonna try to give her $1 so she could get an all day pass instead of spending the $5 and be short. Well, actually, I wanted to give her $5 change, but I think thought I was trying to just give her money. I was like, no, just trying to give you change. So she didn't quite follow that, and her English was good, and so she didn't want that. So I said, okay, here, take $1. That way, when you put in $6, you get a whole day pass. And I try to give her the dollar. Here, the $1's free. I'm in a good space. Um, that financially for probably the first time in my life, like here, take the $1. So okay, she took the $1, but then she grabbed a handful of change and gave it back to me. It was less than $1, but I was like, because she didn't know the values, because in Chinese money, the values are on the money. It's on our money too. It's written there. She's just it's a learning curve. She hasn't caught up, but yeah, it says it on there for what it's worth. But I didn't want to get sidetracked into teacher mode. You know, it turns out she's an au pair, and my only education and understanding of au pair was from watching TV. Right? So I had no idea what I found out I had no idea what an au pair was, but it's usually a young person from another country, usually female, who takes care of the children of wealthy folks. And I live kind of near a wealthy community down the way, and so she's an au pair handling children. But I guess she had some time off. She was heading to church, and she was probably connecting with an Asian congregation. We got a lot of them here in our cities, in the city I'm at. Uh, so it all made sense what she was doing. Uh, but getting back to this breath of fresh air that she was, and I was like, so we got on the bus. We're going. I'm very close to the stop where I live, and we just left. Kind of left it at that. She sat near me on the bus. As I was getting off the bus, I said, "God bless you," and was on my way. But it did make me think hard about what's going on in America, because you'll find I can find examples of all kinds of people and races and languages and tongues who receive me in like manner, who are obviously have not been indoctrinated, they've not been educated, you know, in America's unique, insidious, infectious kinds of racism and hate. You know, along a color line, um, along the money line. Now, I will say this, I'm sure every country has um, its order, its stratification. Somebody's on top, in all kinds of governments, monarchy, dictatorship, um, this republic, democracy, whatever. There's the haves and the have-nots and everyone. America being its melting pot. You know, in America, you seem to have more favor as the lighter your skin color, the more favor you kind of have in the whole system. You know, Other countries probably not so, since the language is consistent, color is consistent, um, the customs are consistent and whatnot. So they're, whatever they deal with probably has more foundation. America's hate is more about specters and ghosts. If you follow my thought here, we put up walls and we create um, these challenges where they don't exist, where they don't even have merit. you know. Um, it was what a pleasure because in my relationship, consistently, especially with Asian women, is just as well. It's not even a relationship; it's non-existent. We don't share the same space at all, consistently. Unless we have to. That's been most of my experience uh, for all time. I can't think of a time when it's not been that. You know what I mean? So, I was very thankful to meet this au pair uh, who hadn't been in the country long enough uh, to find reason to like to not ask me for help or directions. Right? You get an Asian woman that's been here a while. She's probably not. She could be lost. She could be totally backwards and where she's supposed to be at in time and space in America. But she probably ain't going to reach out to me uh, for any serious help. You know. So this young au pair, I can tell her first name, and her name was Nicole, which was another thing. Like, okay, I'm waiting for an Asian sounding name, Yosan or something, Kim at least. But no, Nicole. I was pretty impressed with Nicole. It's a very, English name, and her English was good too. She probably I didn't get into it, but she's probably had spent a lot of time and space with you know English speakers. And I know things are different in China, where she's probably she could very well be an orphan because of the way China handles children and things like that, especially their girls. So it was just nice meeting her. So today, it was just kind of free form. Give a shout out, and I try to be fair about races and communities in America. We know not everyone is is all one thing. People are complicated, and you know my issue with Asians and other groups are issues with certain sections of those groups, and those sections are very real when we talk about business, racism, discrimination. Those are verifiable facts I'm talking about. But every once in a while, it's good to say, there are others who are not infected, who want to have a sense of unity with all people, colors, um, and financial status, educational status, everything. So, China, you get a you get a nod today, a rare nod from Tomlin's Nyback. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's day 150 out of the way. Thank you for spending time with me. Let's come back tomorrow and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Bye bye.